Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak to the women of the Shidduch group. I'm excited that we have both matchmakers and singles here today. Please mute yourself if you're not muted. And we're going to have plenty of time for questions afterwards, and I'm really looking forward to that. The title was Finding Your Flawless Man, and I hope you all know it was a joke, because there is no such thing, obviously, as a flawless man, because we're certainly not flawless. And I'm gonna start with a cute story, and I think Tamara is really gonna appreciate this. There's a brand new store in New York that sells husbands. A woman can only visit this store one time, and there are 6 floors at the store. And you can't go backwards. So if you shop on the first floor and you take one, that's great. But if you go up to the second floor, the third floor, you can't go back down to what you missed, okay? So on a woman goes into the husband store to find a husband. And on the first floor, the sign reads, men who have good jobs. And she says, oh, that's nice, but I'm curious, what's on the second floor? So she goes up to the second floor and it says, these men have good jobs and love kids. Says, that's nice, but I think I want more. So she goes to the third floor, and on the third floor, these men have good jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking. So she says, okay, that's nice, but maybe there's more. She goes to the fourth floor and says, these men, the sign says, these men have good jobs, love kids, are drop dead gorgeous, and help with housework. Sounding good? So then she says, oh, I can hardly stand it. I wonder what's on the fifth floor. She goes up. These men have good jobs, love kids, are drop dead gorgeous, help with housework, and have a strong romantic streak. Her heart's pounding. Oh, should I take one? Should I take one? And she says, oh, I'm going to go to the 6th floor. She goes to the 6th floor and there's a sign. It says, you are the 31 millionth visitor to this floor. There are no men on this floor. This floor exists solely as proof that women are impossible to please. Thank you for shopping at the husband store. You've heard that before? Then there is an end to the story. To avoid gender bias, the store's owner opened a new wives store in New York across the street. The first floor has women who love intimacy. The second floor has women that love intimacy and are kind. The third floor has wives who love intimacy, are kind, and like sports. No man has ever gone up to the 4th, 5th, or 6th floor. So that's that. Sometimes I know you get accused of being kind of picky when you're single. And yes, you should be picky, but you also want to be open to what comes into your life. If a matchmaker takes the time to suggest a match for you, instead of saying no right away, really think about it, really look at the match and see if there's even a possibility. And if there's a possibility, say yes, because so many people say no too fast. I'm a big proponent of momentum dating. And momentum dating is having 3 dates within 10 days. Elisa Ben Shalom has this in her first book, Get Real, Get Married. And I try to use it with all of my clients, all of my singles. I try to get them psyched up to go out 3 times before they say yes or no. Like one and dones, forget that. First time I heard the term one and done, I said, what's that? But then I certainly found out what a one and done is. It's when you go out one time and you're done. You don't want to see the guy again. So I think we need to erase that. Unless the guy is truly repulsive, you say yes to a second date. You don't even think, do I want to go out with him again? You think, okay, the first date was okay. Okay is good enough to go out again. Unless you're 100% sure that he's not for you. And even then, you should still go on a second date. No. If you're 100% sure, nobody should force you to go out a second date. But if there's a possibility, and I'm going to give you an example of a couple that I helped get married. I had a boy who lived in Vancouver, Canada, and I'd been helping him for a couple of years. And there was a girl who used to live in Seattle, but she was living in Crown Heights. And she was about 27, 28. And she was not really on the SNES level that I thought he needed. But I thought, okay, they're both from the West Coast and they're both looking, I'll try it. So they have their first phone date. And on the phone date, she gets back to me and says, I don't think so. He's such a Balchuva. He'd only been from for like 4 or 5 years. He's too Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. She says, I'm from birth, like I've been out with Balchuva guys. So I go to talk to the guy to think he's probably not going to say yes. And he says, I liked her. She's interesting. So I go back to the girl and I say, he liked you. Why not have a video date? Because usually my first long distance date is a phone call. So she says, I don't know. I don't think so. And she talks to her mom and she talks to me and she says, okay, well, I'll do another date. So they have another date, and then they had another video date, and slowly it warmed up. And I actually got the guy, they split the ticket for her to come home for Shavuos, and they got to date, for the afternoons of that 3-day weekend we had last year, or the year before. They have a baby already, the year before. And so anyway, it worked out. But if I would have just let it go on the first date, I don't think so. I've dated Balchuvas before. Just because you dated Balchuvas before and all the other ones didn't work, it doesn't mean this one's not going to work. So that's something to keep in mind. Then I had another story where I had a phone date. This was a New York, Seattle story. And they had a phone date. Then they had the video date. And she comes back to me and says, he's so serious. And she comes back to me and says, he says, she's so serious. They had had a 2-hour discussion on Judaism. Yeah, it's a serious discussion. And so, they might have thought, oh, I can't get involved with this kind of personality. It's too serious. So once they knew that each of them, was a serious discussion, they started lightening up some of their other discussions, and it worked out. Okay, so Lori Palatnik, I'm sure you've all heard of Lori Palatnik. She's one of the most amazing speakers. She tells the story of when she dated her husband. And the first date was, the second date was okay. The third date, she really saw the greatness in him. And in the days when Lori was going out, it was expected that people went out on 3 dates before they said yes or no. So the third date, she saw his greatness, she saw him shine. And that's the lesson I really want to give over is give yourself a chance. I'm sure all the matchmakers can vouch for this idea of momentum dating, trying to get in 3 dates within 10 days. I know it's up to the guy to do that, but yes, 3 dates within 10 days, because you have to keep momentum. People who just date like on a Sunday, that's never going to cut it. I wasn't going to say this, but it just popped into my head. It's very important as the woman that you give the guy some kind of feedback, that you're having a good time and that you like talking to him. Men need a little pumping up because they're putting themselves out there too. They're risking their ego. And it's more important to tell a man, I had a good time. Thank you for taking me there. This was such a great idea, even more than telling him a compliment about himself, because a man is trying to provide something for the woman. He wants to add value to her life. And that's what makes him feel connected. Hey, I'm adding value to her. I'm connecting with her. She appreciates me. So think about that concept of texting the guy after the date and saying, you know, I had a really nice time with you. I really liked what you said about such and such. There are things I ask my husband to do that I could do myself, but it gives him a purpose to help me with something. And men love that. They need to be needed. And that's why they exist, is to give to you. So if all of you married women too, you know, I thank my husband every time he takes out the garbage. Why? It's his job. But why not? Why shouldn't I thank him? My husband likes me to read him the news every morning before he gets out of bed. Not my favorite thing, but it's connecting and it makes him happy. So it's my way of giving to him. Okay, enough sidetracking on that. Then the last thing about momentum dating is sometimes you don't want to say yes because you're afraid you're going to hurt the guy, right? Oh, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to hurt him. I hear that all the time. You have to take a chance in Shadchan, and you have to, and someone's going to get hurt when it breaks up, and it's never right until it's right. If you don't take the chance of furthering the relationship, you'll never get to the chuppah. So don't worry that you're going to hurt somebody, because you have a relationship's like a plant. It needs fertilizer, and it needs sunshine, and it needs rain, which I call in dating, it needs some fun, it needs some seriousness, it needs time. You shouldn't be thinking on the first date, am I going to marry this guy? It shouldn't even be in your head, am I going to marry this guy? What you want on the first date is, can I relax? Can I have fun? Can he make me laugh? Can I make him laugh? That's what a first date should be. It should be light. It should be fun. If you're divorced, you should not be talking about your divorce on the first date. Nobody deserves or needs to hear about your divorce until the third, fourth, fifth date, not until you have an emotional connection with him. And if somebody asks you a private question that you don't want to answer yet, tell them, you know, I think that's a great question, but I'm not quite ready to answer that, and laugh. That's something that maybe I'll save for our fourth date. How about that? Because I know it's important to you, but I'm just not ready to share it yet. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to answer. Okay. I wanted to go step number 2. What to do while you're waiting for your bashert. I think this is really important because right now we're in coronavirus. And it's hard to date, but I'm so encouraged because I see a lot of people getting engaged and getting married during coronavirus. And that is so awesome. And I think it's because people are getting more in touch with their essence of what's really important. And there's so many lonely people now. And as matchmakers, we're trying to help with that. But there are things you can do during coronavirus while you're, or anytime while you're waiting for your bashert. And that is, use this time to grow. Do what makes you happy, passionate things, because people are attracted to passion. When you go on a date with a guy, the sexiest thing about a guy is that he has self-confidence. We are attracted to men who know who they are or know where they're going. It's just, and then we feel safe and taken care of as women. When my husband, like, I kind of felt he was the first adult that I dated. Like, he just was so much more mature than any guy I'd gone out with. So when I say use this time to grow, I ask people to have a piece of paper and a pen. But I changed the workshop idea a little bit. But if you were to write down one thing that you want to change about yourself, go ahead and jot it down right now. Do you want to learn to swim? Do you want to learn patience? Do you want to learn to do your makeup? Do you want to, what can you do? What little thing would you like to change that would make you feel like a better person? Do you want to lose 30 pounds? You know, whatever it is, use this time during coronavirus to improve yourself so that you can give more of your light to the world. Just like a man is attracted when he's self-confident, a woman who has some kind of passion in her life attracts a man. If she knows who she is, she knows what is exciting to her, but she's willing to make room for the man in her life, and he sees that she needs me. I've heard of like working women who go out with men and they're almost like competing on a date. Like, I'm so important, I do this, I'm flying across the country every week. And the man says, well, she doesn't need me. I don't add value to her life. She's not coming across as feminine. In fact, I have this book. I'm going to give you a few book titles that I just love. This one's called Have Him at Hello by Rachel Greenwald. Have Him at Hello. And it's confessions from 1,000 guys about what makes them fall in love or never call for a second date. And okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent again. And I'm gonna tell you the number one thing that men don't like in women. It's called the boss lady. That's the first chapter. A woman who takes charge on the date, who maybe says, I think it's time to ask for the check. Or she walks outside to call the taxi instead of letting the man do it. Always let the man lead on a date. Even if you're a leader by nature, like I'm a firstborn, I'm a leader. My husband's a firstborn, he's a leader. So we had to really figure this out. I needed to learn how to create more of my feminine essence, the femininity in me to be able to serve him in a way that he needed and in a way that I could blossom in that way. I had to take lessons in this, trust me, because we're both leaders. So the thing is to step back from being a leader and let the man lead. So that's the first chapter in Have Him at Hello. It's very, very interesting. I'll give you the second clue because it's a positive. The second chapter is basically that a guy is attracted to sugar and spice. He wants somebody sweet, but he needs a little excitement too. You know, like you can keep him laughing or you keep him, somehow you keep him attracted to you without, you're sweet. So many guys are coming to me and saying, Lori, are there any sweet girls left? Sweetness is attractive, but if it's too sweet, agreeing with everything he says, then they get bored. Okay. The other thing you can do while you're during COVID is volunteer, help people, do chesed. I once asked a Rabbi Twersky, our local Seattle Rabbi Twersky, to give our women a lecture in what is a woman's purpose in this world. Because I knew a man's purpose in this world was to learn Torah. So I said, please, Rabbi Twersky, would you research this and tell me what is a woman's purpose in this world? And he did. And he said, a woman's purpose in this world is to do chesed. And that was really powerful. And that is so much the essence of a woman, is to do chesed. And in a marriage, you have such an opportunity to do chesed. I call marriage the Midos crucible. It is a way of forming your Midos to such a high level. I have learned patience being married. My husband and I are on different time clocks, I'll tell you that. I've learned to just be patient, stand by the door and wait for him. And don't say, hurry up, or we're gonna be late. I just stand there and I wait. So I've learned my Midos have improved so much just from having him in my life. And I think that's the opportunity to do chesed, is to, that's why we get married. Hashem's gonna test you somewhere. I have a saying, dating is hard, being single is hard, relationships are hard, marriage is hard, choose your hard. Life is hard. Every chapter you're in has its own challenges and it's hard. But if you think of the chapter that you're in, can I do more chesed in the chapter I'm in? to get practice for when I get married. And that's awesome. Okay. Deciding what I want to do next. This is going to be the last kind of topic here. All right, how to decide if somebody is for you or not. So there's one book that you might have heard of by Hannah Levitin called I Only Want to Get Married Once. She's a frum psychologist, I think, who wrote a nice book. There's another way. One of my favorite books is Shidduch Secrets. And she has a way of figuring out your wants and needs. I do that as a private coaching session that costs $75 if anybody wants to do that one-on-one. I don't know, maybe tomorrow we could think of how to do it for a workshop, but I don't know. We'll see. And what I'm going to do now is read you from Sarah Chaved Rigler. She's she's actually a speaker, not just for women, but she came up with some criteria, and I want to share it with you, and you can take some notes if you want. I think her criteria is kind of amazing. She says the number one thing is good mitos, and she tells you which mitos. But she also says all you marry is mitos. In fact, when I see on a shidduch profile somebody who's looking for a guy or a girl who's put together, I like, oh, do I really need somebody put together? Does he need to wear his black hat when he takes out the garbage? Or does he need to, you know, look spiffy all the time? Or she, you know, I want put together is like not on the list. If you go out with a guy, one of my couples that got married, the girl was from Google and the guy was from Amazon, and he showed up. He actually was so excited to see her. He didn't even buy the plane ticket before he got to the airport. And he bought, and this guy's in computers, okay? So he gets to the airport, he goes to see her, and he's got like holes in his pants. And after they're dating for a month or two, she says to me, Lori, you know, he really just doesn't know how to dress. And I said, you know what? You can dress him after you're married. It's okay. I buy all my husband's clothes, you know, like he doesn't go to the store. So you can dress your man. Don't worry about what he looks like on the date. So the good mitos are kind and considerate, honest, not arrogant. He shouldn't be higher than a 7 on an arrogance level. Not stingy. He doesn't have to be generous, but he can't be stingy. I know of a woman who broke up her engagement because she was in the theater and the guy had money and wouldn't buy her a $4 bottle of water and she was thirsty. But you know, it's a ripoff. If you have a guy who's got plenty of money, but on principle won't buy his date bottle. Now this was not, of course, the only thing, but it was just one of the little things that she said, I can't marry this guy. He only wanted to go on the honeymoon to spend points on his airlines. He couldn't do it with points, he didn't want to go. So I'm just saying, there's a difference between generous and not stingy. So just think about it. And the last thing in the mitos is he doesn't habitually put down groups or individuals. So I would call that mocking. He's not a mocker. Because somebody who mocks other people is probably going to end up mocking you. And that's nasty. Mocking is nasty. Okay, number 2 is he's growth oriented. He would like to do more, be more, become more. He's not satisfied with who he is. Just like women work on themselves, men need to work on themselves. And if you can't tell a guy you're doing something wrong in a gentle way, which never works. She also teaches you don't correct, control, or criticize your husband. I'm in her Kesher Wife group. I learned a lot from Sarah Chaved Rigler about that. As long as he is open to growing, that's a good thing. Number 3, you enjoy spending time with him. If you don't enjoy spending time with your guy, don't marry him. Don't marry him. Number 4, he has a similar but not identical religious level to you. I think it's very hard when someone Shomer Shabbos dates somebody who's not Shomer Shabbos. I just had somebody reach out to me for a coaching. She said, you know, I'm Shomer Shabbos and he's not, but he says he'd keep Shabbos with me. And then she told me the story that she was in the grocery store with him and she wanted to buy the olive oil and it didn't have a hechsher. And he says, oh, come on, you don't need a hechsher. We need the olive oil. That's already a sign that she's not being respected. So close as you can get religious level, but there are too many. There are more from girls than there are from guys. It's just it's what there is right now. So if you find a guy who's a little less than you, but he's okay with where you are, and he respects what you want to do in the marriage, you should be open to it, and try and see if you can, you know, if his mitos maybe makes up for that. And he has a plan to earn a living or the ability to earn a living. You really don't want, you know, if you want to be supported, the guy should at least have the ability to make a living. Okay, so that's pretty much my spiel for today. I'd love to take questions. So if you want to open up your mics, and I'd love to hear from you.
I'm wondering how long you think a date should be when you're trying to get those 3 dates in the 10 days, because you can have some long dates, you can have some short dates. So
okay, that's a great question. I think that some people like to do a 1-hour coffee date for the first date. I don't think that's long enough personally. I think when you do a 1-hour date, you're just looking for a way to say no to the person quickly. I think a 3-hour date is the way to do it. And I'm so glad you asked this, because when people are doing long distance dating, even though either the guy or the girl is flying out, it should still be a 3-hour date, even though the guy flew into town, okay? He shouldn't expect you to take off work and spend the whole day with him. If you do and it's fun and it's wonderful, great, which I know of one couple that did that. They did not get married, but they did spend the whole day together and it's better to have a 3-hour date and leave them wanting more. And I learned this from a Chabad mom who I helped her son marry this girl in California. She taught me this. She said, you should fly in for 4 days and you should date just regular dates, and you should skip a day. You should go like 1, 2, skip, and then the last day. But there's no hard rules, but you shouldn't try to cram getting to know someone long distance into a weekend or something like that.
but if you're having a good time, you wouldn't limit the.
I wouldn't limit it. No, if you're having a good time, but still you might want to say, you know, I really need to get home by 9 o'clock because I have to teach the next day or whatever. And then, you know, if he says, oh, we really need to go, right? You need to get home. Say, 10 more minutes. I'm having such a good time, you know, like something like that.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I have a question.
Go for it.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. We started this workshop mentioning, give it at least 3 tries, give it a chance. But what about those of us who have been on the receiving end of, let's say, a first date that was under an hour, or felt like we weren't even given a chance at all? Like it was sort of literally.
It's hard as the woman. We have no control over it because the man is the leader. And if he ends the date early, it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. First of all, we get all dressed up for it and we're so psyched for it and we're nervous all day for it. And then when it ends, I have had a couple guys do that. One of them ended the date because the girl wasn't cute enough. he had a good phone date with her, then he had the video date, and he ended it like after, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes. What an insult. So we have to, for the matchmakers here, we have to coach our people. You know, if I set you up, I expect you to spend an hour with this person and look for the good. Look for the good. You should try to make every date a great date and get to know the person. It's only respectful, and it's so nasty to end a date quickly. Now,
Okay.
it could be that the people have nothing to talk about, and then that's really hard. So I would have in my pocket some dating questions. You can print them off the AISH website and say, oh my gosh, we're running out of stuff to talk about. But guess what? I have these right here in my pocket. I have some dating questions that are fun, and say, can we do this? Can we? And
Very clever.
I have a
Thank
question
you.
for the singles.
Hi.
My experience when I was dating, are you hearing me?
yeah, it's a little louder. Come closer.
Okay, let me go close. In my experience when I was dating, something that caught my attention, it's like the guys, they want to conquer you. And when you go on a date that it has a purpose of getting married, you show certain availability. I don't know if you are getting my point. So sometimes, like, it's like he, the guy doesn't need to make so much effort because you are there. You want to get married. So how to put some, like, I don't know, like uh, put the value that you have to show the guys that you are not uh, like available anytime, or I don't know how to say it. Why I'm saying this, because my
You're
husband,
not desperate. You're not desperate.
you're not desperate, exactly, because my husband, when I went the first date, the second date, the third date, and the fourth date, I didn't feel that my husband was meant to be my husband. And now, until today, 20 years later, he remembers that he needed to make an effort to get me. And I think that the man needs that because it's their nature.
True.
How to do it, how to do that, because sometimes I want to give some advice to the singles, but I don't know how.
That's the sugar and spice kind of thing, is to be sweet, but you're right. If you make it too easy, then they're not interested. But I'm not into playing games. The truth is, if you don't like a guy, like you weren't so interested, you were totally yourself because you didn't care. You didn't care. You didn't think you were going to marry this guy, so you just were. You were nervous before a date. You just were yourself, and that's very attractive to a guy when you're your real self. And I remember from dating, if a guy was really cute, you didn't even know what to say, right?
True.
You're like, when the stakes are low, you don't care. You're yourself. It's like, no, I don't care what you think of me. So that's really kind of the mindset you have to get into. Is really just be yourself, and the guy will be impressed.
Can I add something?
Please.
There's a difference between available and desperate. And that's what a woman has to convey. She's not desperate because then the man can walk out easy and charge. All the things Tamara she's absolutely right. They do that. Being available is different. And I think it comes from that first phone call. It's not the first date. It's the phone call. That first call is when a woman needs to control the conversation. I'm not saying not be yourself, but there are ways to control a conversation and to think about what one's saying on the conversation, because that's comes before the date. And they know, if they know by the phone call a little bit about you, then they might know whether you're available or whether you're desperate. So I think women have to spend some time thinking about the phone call.
All right, well, let's role play
No, I'm not into that.
it.
No, I'm just not into
I
it. I'm
wanted
not into role
wanted
playing.
to
I never
learn
do
from
it.
you.
I never do it. Worked in corporate world. I don't do it. Somebody else wants to, fine. But I'm not interested. No, I'm not going to role play. But I think that's a whole other subject that women have to think about, how they present themselves non-visually. Because visually you give off clues even if you don't mean to. You have much more control on the phone. You can walk into a restaurant, somebody can know that you're desperate or pushing or whatever. It's how you walk in the room, right? I mean, that first impression. But on a phone, you have it's much easier to control it. You don't have to see them. That's why I always tell people not to do a video conversation.
On the first call.
Keep it close to the chest.
I
give too much of yourself.
Well, I generally recommend for long distance dating a phone call first. I feel it gives a kind of a barrier that you can be more natural to be yourself.
It helps, right?
But I find that the younger generation, maybe people in their 20s, maybe even 30s, they like to go straight to the video. A lot of them do.
Yeah, but that's where we come in to
Elle wants
advise
to
them.
say something, yeah? Thank you
Had
for
a
that.
recent experience with a shidduch date on the phone where the guy wanted to communicate via letters. And I was very taken aback by it. And I told I made a joke. I said, are you like a handwriting analyzer? Do you want to find out if I'm crazy or not? You know, he laughed and everything, but when I spoke to his rabbi and I said, gee, you know, this was a little bit of a concern why this gentleman wants to communicate primarily via letters. And then after I spoke to the rabbi, the guy sent me an email the next day saying, oh, I don't think this is going to work out. So I think that, you know, my intuition was that he really wasn't serious. He wasn't ready for commitment. He just wanted to write.
Right. It wasn't.
It was the first time I've ever been confronted with someone who asked me to write with them. Has
Well,
anybody ever
I'll tell you
experienced
what's happening in the non-Jewish world, or the world of J-Wed and J-Date and all the other, you know, a lot of people text for 2 or 3 weeks before they even pick up the phone, which is not the way we date. The way we
Right.
date is we're marriage minded. And if we have a possibility, we get it off the ground. We don't spend days texting. What a waste of time.
Yes.
But that's what the non-Jewish world is doing a lot of.
That's what the Jewish world is doing too, unfortunately. I hate to say it.
It's a waste of time. And it's not very manly. If you're a man and you're interested, you need to pursue. And that's really, that's a whole nother webinar. It's pursue.
Can I ask another question? Or can I ask another question or a comment?
Please.
You know, I live in Florida and I really love it here, but you know, I'm willing to relocate. I find that most of the Jewish men live in the tri-state area, you know, where there's a lot of Jewish people and there's a lot of other women, and they just don't want to date. They don't want to date me. They say, oh, I hate Florida. You know, they come up with all these reasons. I mean, it's so rude to even say like, I hate Florida. I would never say I hate New York. You know, I grew up in New York. I hate New York, but I would never say that, you know? Like, how do you know, I don't know. I don't know if I should move. I don't know, you know, I'm 63, so it's not like I have 40 years to, you know, in the shidduchs, you know? So, do you have a perspective, like in terms of, are men, you know, in my age range willing, I know with COVID and that threw everybody off, but are there men willing to travel long distance? Are men willing to travel?
Most
they
men
want
over 60,
convenience.
most men over 60 right now are not traveling.
Right.
Like, I know a guy in New York, said, I'm not traveling. A lot of guys are not traveling.
I'm
But
61.
some people are, some people are.
I mean, I would travel.
The most important thing, oh, I shouldn't say it like this, but a very important thing on your Shidduch profile is to get your best picture. Because men look at the picture before they look at anything else. So get your best picture, spend money on getting a good picture. And I'm a big fan of a good Shidduch profile. And that's one of the reasons the number 2 thing that I was talking about is do something you're passionate about while you're single and make yourself really full of love and light and excitement so that you can express that to the guy that I have a happy life just like I am. I'm a happy person. I'm doing what I love in the world. But yes, I want to be part of a unit and I want to add value to your life. I heard this Devar Torah about why do they say Hashem is spending his time making matches and it's hard as what? Kriyas Yamsu. Why do they say the words Kriya, which means tearing? Why don't we say that Hashem is doing something so hard it's like tearing? And why aren't we using the word glue? Why don't we say Hashem's making matches like glue? Because when you get married, you have to tear little pieces off of you so you can fit together. You do have to change. People say, love me like I am, else get out of here. That is really a fallacy because you do have to adjust yourself to fit with somebody else. So don't think, well, if he doesn't like me the way I am, too bad. Well, maybe he needs more from you. Maybe he needs something else from you. Okay, anybody else?
So would you suggest getting a professional picture taken?
Absolutely. Outside if possible.
Yeah.
Laurie, I have
In
one question.
feminine colors, and don't wear black on your date. Wear something pretty. I got dressed up in something pretty to come on my date with you today.
Beautiful.
Something with flowers, something that's feminine. Don't come in black on a date. Look feminine, smell feminine. Get your hair looking its best. And knowing how to ask open-ended questions. If you don't know, Google it, go to your coach and ask, how do I ask open-ended questions? Because that's what you want to do on a date is ask questions that invite a story. Not just how many brothers and sisters do you have, but tell me about your siblings. Who's your favorite and why are they your favorite? Like ask fun questions, ask positive questions. What are you passionate about? What do you like to spend your time doing? These are questions that get exciting. And when you, because we're not touching on dates, we have to connect mentally. So when somebody gets you, you feel another strand of connectivity going to them. So that's how you make the connection, is getting someone, feeling like they got you. That's really what's exciting. Okay.
Laurie,
All
I
right.
have a question. It's Luciana. You said that men, the first thing that they look in the profile, I don't know, is the picture. What about women that you have this experience in Shidduch? What's the first thing that women see in the profile that the women are searching?
I'm not sure because I'm not single, so I'd put that out to you guys. But I have had plenty of women turn down a Shidduch because of the picture. Plenty.
Ah, okay.
I've even had a
Also,
girl who was 27 turned down a guy. Well, she went out with him, but he was balding, and he was such a perfect match for her. But then I heard another story about a woman who said to her Shadchan, I don't want to go out with the guy. I don't like this guy. He's balding. And so the next
Get to be my age, they're all bald.
the next date that she went out Oh, the next shit off, he told the guy, wear your hat. She doesn't like guys who are balding, so wear your hat the whole time. And he said, so after the date, she loved this guy. She said, he's great. And then the matchmaker heard from the guy and said, oh, I liked her. And the matchmaker said, you kept your hat on, right? He says, no, I forgot, I took it off. And she didn't even notice because she was having such a good time with him.
Beautiful, beautiful. How nice.
Okay, let's just go around the room because I just would like to hear what pearl you're taking away from today to give me some feedback. Joanne, your mic is open, so do you want to just give me one pearl you're taking away from
One
today?
pearl. I really did like the idea of 3 dates. I'm very challenged by that, but I was just on a date and he spoke for an hour straight and he didn't ask any questions about me or anything else. And that's without even looking at me. Forget about what I look like. So 3 dates, and then I talked to the rabbi about this gentleman. And he said, well, he's got it and I
Well,
said,
I have a suggestion for that, Joanne.
yes.
I just read about this in Mars and Venus on a Date. And a guy, either if he's nervous or he wants to impress you, you see, he wants to add value to your life. So he wants to show you how great he is. And he's more interested in that at the moment. And if you think there's something there that you like, you have to learn how to gently interrupt and say, you are such an interesting guy. Do you want to know anything about me? You can do it if you do it in a playful way.
Love it.
You can do it. Do you know?
Perfect.
Are you curious? And I have to tell you though, it happened with a 75-year-old guy that was talking to a 65-year-old lady that I set up. And the guy talked all about himself. And she said to him, don't you want to ask me any questions? He said, no, I read your shit off profile.
Gosh. Oh my God.
She did not have a second date with him.
Oh, gee.
And he wonders why he's alone after 40 years. Yeah. So if a guy talks, maybe he's just trying to impress you. Just
Whatever.
try to pull him back to earth and say, hey, we're on a date. My matchmaker
I
told me.
tried. I tried.
You tried. My
I did.
matchmaker told me it's really good to keep the talking 50-50.
Yeah.
Always blame it on somebody else.
Well, I told him I had to walk the dog and I left. After.
Okay, Ariella, what's your pearl from today? You want to unmute?
Yeah, I just unmuted. I don't know. I don't know. I appreciate your time very much, but I don't really know that anything was new for me.
Okay.
For a very long time. So nothing really was new. It's a mazel and you just have to have it, I guess,
That's definitely true. Hi, Tammy. Were you on today?
Hi, I'm sorry. It's early here, and so 4:30 was a bit awkward for me getting my kids home from school, so I just jumped on now. I was hoping just to catch
Okay.
the tail
I can give
end.
you the replay.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Deborah, do you have anything you're taking away?
Yes, I like the bit about sugar and spice, and that, I need to work on being more exciting.
Okay. And I think Tamara just showed you a way to do that too, is just don't care what he thinks about you. Pretend you're talking to a girlfriend and be you, because that's who you want him to know anyway.
Right.
And so to work on being more exciting, you can work on your stories of what you're going to say to the guy when you're going to talk to him. Have stories ready about your family. Have stories about your job. Don't just say what you do for a living. Say why it excites you. Say, this is what happened at work with me today. Be interesting. be interesting and prepare your stories if that's what you need to do, if you're not a natural talker. Okay, I don't want to call anybody. Anybody else want to say a pearl that they're taking away or have a comment? And then we'll end. Yes, Yael.
Let the man lead. A big one for me. I actually went out on a shidduch date when I was in Baltimore visiting my daughter over Holomoy, and we went on one date, and he left it open-ended at the end, which really drove me crazy. I didn't know what was going on. And I actually asked them out for a second date. I actually called them up and said, I had a really good time the first date. Would you like to go out again? And which was, I don't think I should have done that because I ended up getting hurt at the end of the second date, where he really, again, left it open-ended. And then he ended up calling me a week later and said, well, I don't think, I'm not sure about myself and my commitment. And again, I having to kind of ride the middle, go in the middle and not feel that I have to control things and make things work. So
Okay.
that's a big thing for me. That's a big thing that I should just let the man lead.
Yeah, you might want to read this book, the Have Him at Hello.
Wait, bring it out again. What's it called?
Have Him at Hello
Okay.
by Rachel Greenwald. The other book I recommend to all my singles, so matchmakers take note of this. This is my favorite book, is Marry Him by Lori Gottlieb. This book I like to give to all my singles. First of all, it's incredibly entertaining and it teaches people about pickiness. This is the best book to follow this woman's journey. She's another Jewish author. Both those books are by Jewish authors. And this book is dated, but I got it, Mars and Venus on a Date, like how to be on dates, what to say. This is a good book too by John Gray. I mean, it's really dated. It's almost 20 years old, but I think my best Jewish book, the one that I just love. You see, I studied to become a matchmaker. I didn't just open up a business here. This is my favorite book, Shidduch Secrets in the Jewish World.
Who's the author?
This book is, it is an art scroll book by Leah Jacobs and Shane D. Marks, Shidduch Secrets. This book, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Those are all my favorite books.
Sorry, what was the name of the first one again?
The first one was Have Him at Hello. And it's basically why he didn't call for a second date.
Have you met hello? Is that what you said?
Have him at hello.
Hello.
Just like the lady said about getting him on the phone, entice him on the phone. Why he didn't call you back. So it's the 10 things men don't like in women. And then it has a little chapter bonus material on what they do like. But yes, leading is the thing they don't like the best because they want to be the man. They want to be in charge. It took me a long time to learn how to be a wife and let my husband lead. It took me, I just had no role model in it. I didn't know how to do it. But I finally got it. I finally figured it out.
It's good. The first marriage, right?
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. I would have given up a few times, but my husband, he was very mature. We learned together. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Okay. Anybody else before we say goodbye? One more. Mara, want to say goodbye?
I just wanted to say hi to everybody quickly. Sorry I joined late. I apologize for interrupting.
Okay, well, when I get the recording, I'll put it on my YouTube and you can watch it. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye. It's a pleasure.
It was amazing, Lori. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Luciana, bye-bye.
Thank you.
I want to tell you about a guy, Luciana. You want to stay on and we'll talk about
Yeah,
possible shiva?
I can stay.
Bye.
And my
Bye-bye.
turn.
Tamara wants
So I have a guy in Nevada who's
Okay,
a lawyer,
good.
and he's modern Orthodox liberal. Shomer Shabbos. You're Shomer Shabbos?
Mhm. No, I'm not. But
Oh.
but I like to, it's a process that I'm starting. But I'm not. Actually, I'm not. But I have nothing against.
You can't be Shomer Shabbos for another person, though. That's the problem.
Okay.
Because it has to come from wanting here and here.
I understand. Yeah, what I'm doing now, because since July in 2019, because I go to New York every year, so I already study in US, I studied in Irvine, I took some courses at Berkeley and in Columbia University. So I used to go to the
Wait. I have to
to
stop.
the
I have to stop the